Alright, so now let's see with an example how to start data modeling using Power Pivot. So now in this example I have 5 tables. So order tables, which is my fact table, it contains all the orders related information, sales, how much sale it made, and profit based on order ID and what customer it was associated with along with the product ID. And then I have customer table where I have the primary key here is customer ID, and I have customer related information here. And then I have returns table. So basically this table lists all the orders which has returned by the customers. So this in total right now in this table I have 572 records, which means out of 8,400 records or 8,400 sales, 572 items has been returned, 572 orders has been returned. And product table with product ID as a unique identifier, which I can join it with orders in the order table and the product ID. And then last I have a user table where I have city related information, that which manager belongs to which city and what type of location it is and how many stores it has. So so I have 5 tables, and the client has asked me to share some insights. Primarily he has asked to identify the total sales amount or the revenue which has been returned. So I have to figure out how many order quantity has been returned and what's the revenue amount, and then which manager is responsible for those returned orders, and whether the prime location has more orders which has returned with seeing or non-prime location. And then the customer segment, by customer segment I would like to see what type of customer segment is contributing more towards sales. So in let's anywhere selected inside a table, I'll do a control T as in table, and I'll ensure that this option, my table has headers, is checked, and I click OK, and I'll transform my existing normal table to an Excel table, and I'll also rename it. I'll give it some business friendly name. So this is my orders table, so under table design I'll go and name it orders, and I'll repeat steps for the customer. So anywhere selected, do a control T, my table has headers, and I'll then rename it as customer, and I'll do that with return. So let's do this quickly. Done this, we have transformed all the data table into an Excel table, and we have assigned a proper name so that it's become convenient when we use it in our data model. So whatever name we are assigning under design, this is what we're going to see in the data model as well. So it's recommended that we assign a proper business name. So now we are ready to add it on data model. So in order to add it in data model, we need to go to the Power Pivot add-in, the Power Pivot ribbon. In case if you do not have this Power Pivot ribbon, you can enable it from Excel options. So I'll go to File, Options, then go to Add-ins, and under Manage you select COM add-in and select Go, and in here you will find Power Pivot for Excel. So ensure that this option is checked. The moment you check it, you will get a ribbon for Power Pivot. Now with this, again, this order table selected, anywhere inside the order table I'll go to Power Pivot and say add to data model, and it will open a Power Pivot window for me. The moment I'll click add to data model, Power Pivot window will be open in a separate window, and my order table has been added to Power Pivot. So now I'll repeat on the same step for customers. So with this table selected, add to data model, customer table added, come back, returns, add to data model, returns added, product, add to data model, and last but not least is the users, add to data model. All right, so now I have all these 5 tables inside my Power Pivot window. So what we are looking at is what is known as a data view, where we can see the data, and so you can do a regular filter and sorting the way you do it in Excel. And just like Excel sheets, I have all the tables here. So this is my data view, which we can see under home, and there is another view which is called diagram. In diagram view, we create relationships. So in here I can create relationships. So let me rearrange these tables over here to make it look better. So let customer go here, the users. So at the moment in this current model, right, so I have product ID, order table, and product table is related to product ID. So to create a relationship, I'll click on product ID and drag and drop on product ID of a product table. It will automatically detect the cardinality that, okay, this side of the table product contains the product ID in the product table has unique records and it's 1, and whereas the product ID in the order table has many records, hence it's many, so as denoted by the asterisk. So it has created a one-to-many relationship. Similar, and this direction, this arrow direction denotes where the filter flow is flowing. So what it means is that I can filter my order table by selecting any element in the product table when we do it in Pivot, but I can't do it vice versa. So we'll learn that more in following sessions. But to reiterate, 1 and asterisk denotes the cardinality, that which side of the table contains the unique records and which side of the table contains multiple records, and this arrow denotes that which table filters what. So in here my filter is flowing from products to orders, so I can filter any order table through products. Now let's create a relationship from customer ID of the orders to customer ID of the customer, and then order ID returns to order ID. Now this user table contains manage related information. So one of the key asks was to identify the manager which has the most orders returned. So for that I cannot connect it directly to the orders table because there is nothing common in between the users and the orders, but it is related to customer table. So, and the common field is city. So let me just connect it. Now the way we should see it as that user table will filter the customer table. We're using this with this arrow key. So user table will filter the customer table, and then customer table will, that filter will flow down to order table through customer table. So when I select any manager from here, it will first filter the customer table, and then that filter will propagate to order table through relationships. So this is the significance of relationship, and in model view we create relationships. Once we are done with our relationship, all we need to do is then under home we click on pivot table. So it brings me back to my Excel file, Excel workbook, and now I get an option where do I need my pivot. Do I need it in a new worksheet or existing? So let's just say new worksheet and click OK. So I get a new worksheet added with pivot. Let me rename it. So now I have a regular pivot field settings with the only change is that I have options to select fields from multiple tables. So now we want to know the total sales. I'll drag drop sales here, and we'll drag drop the order quantity as well. So just like a regular pivot, it's by default it's giving me the default calculation as sum. So look at the formatting. So there are two ways of formatting. One is the traditional way. You can do a value field settings and we can do a number format from here, or we can do it from the home, but that's not recommended. What I would recommend, whenever we are working with Power Pivots, we always go to the Power Pivot window, in the data view, we format our columns here. So whatever format we decide in here, it will be automatically reflected. So it's a decimal number, so we'll define it as a currency, and similarly order quantity, I need it in a comma format. I need it as comma. Profit also, let's define it as a currency. So whatever format we decide here, automatically it will be reflected in our Power Pivot, in the pivot model. And I can actually rename it just total orders, and the sales is my revenue. So I have drag dropped order quantity and sales from the order table, and since now these tables are related, I can drag drop from multiple tables as well, different tables. So I would like to see by manager, so I can go to the user table and drag drop manager under rows, and here I have as total revenue by manager. Similarly, if I need a profit, I can again drag drop profit from the orders, and I'll get manager wise profit. Let me rename this as total profit. And just like a regular Excel pivot, using value field settings, I can have multiple calculations. So instead of sum, if I need an average, I can do that as well. So average revenue, and I'll have that. And so one of the key asks was to identify the manager which has the highest return. So return information is in the returns table. So either I can drag and drop, put it under filters, or I can add it as a slicer. So right click on the status, and then I add it as a slicer. Let me switch off the grid lines and resize my slicer, make it 2 columns. Okay, so now when I select returned over here, I get information based on the return sales, and blank represents all those sales which are still valid, which are not returned yet. So using Power Pivot, it's very simple to get started. The only thing which we have to ensure that we have built the right data model with the relationships. So first step was to transform all the tables, regular tables, to a Excel table, and then we assign a proper business name so that all those that name is reflected over here. These names are reflected over here. So we assign those names, and then we add it to data model in the Power Pivot window with table selected. Then we create relationship, and we click pivot table, and then we can get started by doing a drag and drop.